Hello all. Well, this is the third time I've tried to make this very video, and it's so complicated that I kept getting it wrong. So I actually had to write it on a piece of paper and do an actual timeline, and I didn't want to make doing a video a job. But anyway, this video is going to be about oil insanity. Yeah, I know there's been all kinds of insanity just in the last hours, days, and months of the planet. We seem to be spiraling into some kind of horrible insanity. Let's go over to the board and I'll show you what I mean. So what I wanted to start off with was U.S. crude oil consumption. I'm talking about crude oil. I'm not talking about condensates. But a lot of this research has shown that they want to throw condensates in to show that that the numbers they're trying to show are bigger than they actually are. So let's see what I found out on my research. So let's start out with U.S. crude oil consumption. Back in 1980, we were consuming about 16,800 barrels per day of oil here in the U.S. By 1988, we were just a little bit less. And by 2004, about the same. And 2007 to 2009 saw a sharp increase to 21,000 barrels of crude oil a day. At present, it's probably about 16,900 barrels per day. A little bit less than it was in 2007 and 9. So I think the economy going south from 2008 on has put a damper on the spending, which includes oil of one type or another. Let's go over and find out exactly how much oil does the U.S. produce. The U.S. produces crude oil from fracking and from conventional wells throughout the U.S. Let's do a little history. Back in 1920, we were pumping almost less than 10,000 barrels per month. Notice I'm saying barrels per month. That can confuse people. So just make sure you remember I'm using barrels per month on this graph, no matter what I say. Alright, by 1940, we were up to 100,000 barrels. By 1950, we were up to 200,500. Then by 1970, we were at 300,000 barrels of oil per month. But then we started to fall back. By 1990, we were down to almost 200,000 barrels, a little over that. But then by 2010, we had fallen all the way down to almost a little over 100,000 barrels per month. Then fracking came and we're shot back up to 300,000 barrels per month of oil use. So back in the 70s, 80s, and so on, we used to hear our leaders here in the U.S. talk about energy independent. We were going to somehow crack the energy problem and be self-sufficient. That's what the big cry was. Then all of a sudden, we started to get subsidies and get oil imports from other countries, mostly Saudi Arabia, Middle East, Kuwait. Then we came and got it from Mexico and Canada. So let's go look what the history of our oil imports is to be able to make it possible for the U.S. to enjoy all the gasoline they get every time they want to go somewhere. Okay, here's the oil imports. So in the 1920s, we saw about 10,000 barrels per month imported. By 1950, we were almost 50,000 barrels per month. By 1970, a little over that. By the late 1970s, we were up to 200,000 barrels per month of imported crude oil. By 1980, it peaked at a little over 200,000. Then we went down for a while to 100,000. By 2009, we were back up at an all-time high of 300,000 barrels per month. Then came fracking, and it's down and sort of leveling off at 200,000 barrels per month. Okay, you're probably asking, well, where's the insanity part? Well, the insanity part is next. The U.S. Congress has voted to allow to export crude oil from the U.S. to other countries. Yes, export. Yes, I know we're importing oil, but yet we're going to export oil. We're going to get the same price that we would if we were to sell it in the U.S. Let's go back over to the board and I'll show you what I mean. So yes, the U.S. has decided to ship 600,000 barrels of crude oil over to Switzerland with a Switzerland-based company called VITOL. This oil was sold by a Houston-based company, ConocoPhillips. Let's go in for a closer look. Okay, here's where the insanity starts. You'll see that we're importing a huge quantity of oil every day. U.S. consumers are consuming oil every day, and we're producing a little bit of oil every day. So if we only produce a small amount and we have to bring in a bunch of imports from Saudi Arabia and other countries, why are we exporting? Now, the price that Switzerland is going to pay for this oil is the same price that they would have gotten it if they had sold it in the U.S., except that they now have to have port charges, transportation charges, and shipping charges on top of the other. So we're actually selling oil for a loss to Switzerland. Okay, here's my point. Insanity. Stupid people at the top. The U.S. government voted to suspend the 40-year ban on exports of oil here in the U.S. for a good reason. Insanity. But yet we're still going to vote for a D or an R and put one of these people in office, the ones that continue to go along with this kind of insanity. Doesn't make any sense, but I thought I'd bring it to your attention. And I'm certainly glad I finished this video finally. So, I appreciate all the comments on the last video, the ups and the downs, and the new subscribers, and until next time.